What up, YouTube? Chef, New Zealand Murder History Podcast. Check this one out. I got a cool show for you guys today. Hope you like it. We're up here in Arnott Heights. This is actually a really cool neighborhood. I like it up here. It's got a good feel to it. But we didn't just come up here for a drive. I got a scripted podcast for you guys today. New Zealand Murder History Podcast does not intend to cause offence to the 501 deportees from Australia or any of the victims discussed in these crimes that I'm going to discuss anyway. I'm not here to offend anybody. This podcast is just for educational purposes. Because I know a lot of people have got a lot of questions out there, like, who are the 501 boys? Why were they sent back here? Well, I'm going to attempt to answer some of these questions in this show, and, yeah. My show's not suitable for children. Anyone having a bad day, perhaps click off. We're going to discuss some pretty nasty crimes, a few murders, stuff like that. Gang violence. Alright, let's get into it. The 501 boys are here now, and they ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Blokes sent back from Australia and neglected on their arrival back to New Zealand. The unwanted, misunderstood, unloved, unshaven New Zealand-born criminals crash-landed like refugees. And a large slice of these men, when I say large, I'm probably talking about 100%. It's hard to know. Anyway, at least vast majority of them, well, they're not happy about getting deported back to New Zealand. Some don't even identify as New Zealanders. So yeah, you can imagine that's going to cause a few problems. Landing in a country and you don't even identify as a citizen of that country. I'm talking about people with entire families still over in Australia. I'm talking about Maori boys who don't speak Maori. Blokes now living in exile and expected to just get on a job and fit in, when they may have never been invited to a marae in their life. Of course, they're not all Maori boys. New Zealand Pākehā, just New Zealand-born criminals in general. And you best believe they brought their Australian biker gangs back with them. As if New Zealand didn't have enough gang members already. The 501 deportees would and still are fighting tooth and nail with the local crews to carve out their own turf, making their mark on their new homeland. Now you, the viewer, may see this episode and say, but they shouldn't have got up to no good in Australia. Well, yeah, perhaps not. The boys landing back in New Zealand, well, they range from murderers and gang presidents to some tattoo artist that was friends with some pickpocket on Facebook. Yeah, all the colours of the rainbow. From the guy who's been in Australia since he was 2 and speaks like an Aussie, to the guy who left New Zealand in his mid-20s, ending up on charges related to his career as a henchman for some motorcycle mafia. Sometimes forming tenuous alliances with whatever local gang was advantageous to do so at the time, the 501 deportees would assault prison guards, murder anyone who stands in their way, and even set Waikeria prison on fire, just to let their new country know how they really feel about it. The first high-profile one I remember was when the Comos put a hit out on Abraham Tuahureva. The gentleman has an islander name. I'm mispronouncing it. I know. I'm sorry. It's Tuhueva. Anyway, Abraham Tuhueva was a member of the Mads gang in Sydney, but he got deported back to New Zealand. He said he was moving a bit of coke for the commos. He was just trying to sound more hardcore and higher up the criminal ladder than he really was. Well, the problem with that was the drug dealers that he was talking to, well, they really did know the commos. And a hit was sent over Snapchat. A witness said to have overheard a message on Snapchat in an Auckland inner city McDonald's. Although the witness couldn't see the screen, they could hear someone talking with an Australian accent. Then the bloke holding the phone said, "Yeah, we got it. We got the green light." It was April the 30th, 2018, and Abraham Tuaheva and his wife Yolanda drove out to a semi-rural location on Greenwood Road for a drug deal. Abraham's wife was waiting in the car when Abraham was talking to the three drug dealers. She gets forced out of the car at gunpoint. Abraham and his wife were shot to pieces, but Yolanda lived. Yep, she made it against all odds as well. She's one tough lady. 2 shots to the head, couldn't take her out. It's just as well she lived, because she was actually able to put the team of killers away in court, so it's pretty cool, really. It was 3 cousins who carried out the hit. Viliami Taani got 17 and a half years prison, non-parole. Mesui Tefui got 19 years. And Fisilau Tapevalu got 17 years. Yeah, he actually said that he wasn't involved in this hit and that he was just in the car and he didn't know that this was going to take place, but he did eventually get done for the murder. That was his story in court. And but anyway, 3 blokes met up with Abraham and his wife for the drug deal. They shot him and his wife. Abraham and his wife begged for their lives. They made a run for it, but they were shot down. Shot down on Greenwood Road. Abraham got shot 7 times, shot in the head, neck, and back. Yeah, and then Yolanda got shot twice in the head, but she lived because she played dead, and someone found her in the morning. Doctors were only able to remove 1 bullet. She still has a bullet lodged in her brain. Yeah, so that was a pretty weird case. That was the first case I remember thinking, wow, that's pretty weird that an Australian gangster can call a hit over Snapchat and touch someone in New Zealand. Just for using their name. I mean, he shouldn't have used their name, obviously. It didn't work out well for him and his wife, but, gee, it's a pretty, they saw it as a disrespect, you're not allowed to use our name. Anyway, information taken for this one is actually from a few sources, including one that was titled "Pair Jailed for Life for Roles in Murder Linked to Como's Gang." That one is on Radio New Zealand website, www.rnz.co.nz, 2nd of August 2019. This next one is the Mongolian motorcycle gang. All these gangs that I'm talking about, I'm not actually using their real names. If you jump on the internet, though, if you're not sure what any of the gangs I'm talking about are, you'll be able to find out pretty swiftly. Yeah. Anyway, Mongolian motorcycle gang. They're made up mostly of Australian deportees, but yeah, anyway, they're made up mostly of Australian deportees. The New Zealand crew's story begins with a New Zealander who gets kicked out of the Christchurch chapter of the Angels, and he starts a Mongolian chapter. These guys they're shooting at cops and generally crossing lines that don't typically get crossed. They're pretty hardcore. Check out what they did up north. A 27-year-old man was severely beaten on the forecourt of an unmanned Gull petrol station. in Te Nauatua Bay of Plenty. This next bit is quoted out of the Rotorua Daily Post article, 2 men arrested in relation to Te Nauatua assault that saw man's hand severed off, 23rd of June 2020. Police were called to an address on Mackenzie Street on Sunday afternoon following a serious assault where a man suffered head injuries and had his hand cut off. The men aged 31 and 26 will appear at Whakatane District Court today charged with wounding with intent. The victim was stable in the Waikato Hospital's High Dependency Unit, a Waikato DHB spokeswoman said. Yep, so that one's pretty hardcore. Not actually sure what this assault was all about, whether that was fully gang related. It said that the victim was known, they might have been at some kind of family function and this took place, so it may just be that the members who done this were part of the Mongolian motorcycle gang, but this could have been a personal beef is what I'm getting at, not necessarily a gang crime. But anyway, check this out. 17 prisoners in the top jail, which is a high security wing at Waikaria Prison. Well, they weren't happy. Some were Australian deportees. Some weren't. I'm not sure how many. But anyway, a lot of Australians, well, they get placed in high security though, because they're often assaulting prison guards, etc. But anyway, on December the 29th, 2020, 21 prisoners set the prison on fire and started a riot. 4 would soon surrender, but 17 kept the riot going till the 3rd of January 2021. That's a while. That's 6 days. Is it 5 nights and 6 days? It doesn't sound that long when you say it out loud, but for a prison riot, it's a pretty ongoing. It's out of control. Well, the boys up in Waikaria, they caused millions of dollars worth of damage to the 110-year-old prison. The poor old taxpayer was the biggest victim. The government paid $1.5 million to prison staff and prisoners for loss of personal property. I'm not sure how much damage was done to the ancient jail, though. But I have seen they're building a new prison up there with a mental health wing and addiction service centre attached. However, I actually think plans were already in place to build this prison before the fire in Waikaria, so anyway, I don't know how much damage they caused, but it was a lot. Back to the story. In the end, a politician from the Maori Party came and spoke to the boys. The 17 die-hard convicts decided they made their point and came down off the roof. Actually, it was 16 by then, because just before they surrendered, one prisoner, he tried to say he wanted to surrender, and the other 16 boys, yeah, they let him surrender all right, after they gave him his rocks. The whole 501 deportee thing has been going on for a while, but it's only been the last 4 years or so when the Australian biker gangs appeared on the scene. Thing is, some are not being deported straight here either. These guys are doing time on Nauru and Christmas Island and... oh man, I tell you, it ain't no Merry Christmas over there. Not at all. I'm talking about offshore detention centres. I personally find the idea of a prison island terrifying. Here's the kind of stuff we get up to on Friday in Australia. On a Friday night, you know what I mean? The Samoan New Zealand lady, Maria Brown, and her son Prince were deported in 2009 for absolutely bashing a member of the Gypsy motorcycle gang in Sydney. Prince Brown and Maria Brown stormed into the Smithfield RSL club with their bloodthirsty posse and smashed this joker up. It was nasty, alright. The floor got painted with blood. Maria Brown takes his gypsy jacket off, gives it to her son Prince, who steps on the floor, throws the jacket on the floor and steps on it, as a disrespect. Yeah, well, they both got sent back to New Zealand for that one. I'm not sure exactly when this serious assault took place, but I'm reading New Zealand Herald.co.nz article, Crime Family Banished from Oz to NZ, 22nd of February 2009. So these two, well, they were deported before the 501 amendment was put into action. But yeah, that's what 501 means, They changed it in 2014. Basically, it allows Australia to cancel people's visas if they aren't Australian citizen and they have done more than 12 months in jail. But here's the thing, I actually thought it meant more than that. I just had a quick look now, and that was the definition I got online, but I'm fairly certain that they're deporting people for bad character associations as well, and stuff like that, I'm not really 100% sure, but it's definitely pretty messed up. I mean, when I say it's messed up, the whole thing's messed up. I'm not necessarily criticising Australia for kicking these New Zealanders out. I'm sure a lot of them deserve to be kicked out. I suppose I am criticising Australia a bit, but at the end of the day, I want New Zealand to deport that idiot up in Christchurch who killed the sex worker, Saini Morong, that awful man. He killed Renee Duck-Manton. I mean, in one of my videos recently, I suggested that New Zealand deport him when he gets out of jail. Now, in context, the guy is subject to a deportation order when he actually committed the murder. So, I mean, yeah, of course I want him to go. And I guess that's what Australia thinks about, New Zealanders who commit crimes over there. I just, I don't know, the idea of putting New Zealanders on some weird island and stuff like that's all pretty sketchy. So what do you guys think about the whole 501 deportee thing? I mean, it's harsh, it's breaking up families, it's causing all kinds of problems. But if I'm going to criticise Australia, well, I should at least be fair and criticise New Zealand too, because we have not welcomed these blokes back properly, Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I mean, it's a big ask to help someone who's just been deported from Nauru to New Zealand and actually give them the help that they need so they don't end up back in the prison system. And frankly, some of them will just end up back in the prison system because that's what they were doing in Australia. It's going to be hard for them to change, especially if they don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. But the support that should be there for them isn't. That's one thing I do know. I mean, we're not exactly meeting up with them at the airport to, I don't know, invite them out to a sausage sizzle or something. I mean, none of that's going on. And they land here and they're outcasted. And one thing we know is that when criminals are outcasted from the community, they're at an even higher risk of committing crimes. Apparently a lot of the 501 deportees like hanging out with each other because they meet someone else who knows what they're going through. And that's obviously not great because then, I mean, it's nice that they're making friends, but, well, they're going to cook up schemes together to, scam, make money, commit crimes. Yeah, it's going on right now. And it's set to get worse. So if any of you 501 boys are watching, welcome home from New Zealand Murder History Podcast. I hope it goes well for you. I hope you don't end up in the New Zealand prison system. I hope you get support, and I hope you meet helpful locals. That's what I hope. I hope that you're able to adjust to your new life in New Zealand. This place is your home now. Kia ora.